This is the Dog Savant Podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
And we are live.
All right.
Awesome.
Bill, what's up, man?
Not much, Brett. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Bow Wow Bill live stream. We're also, for the first time ever, we're doing a simulcast. Brett has a podcast called the Dog Savant Podcast, and so we're doing that as well. You can check him out. Where's the podcast located at?
It's on iTunes. If you just click on the Dog Savant, type it in, it'll come up. You can go to my website too, dogtrainingla.com. You can link to all that, my YouTube, all the social media, the show, all that as well.
Excellent. Well, and for your listeners, if you would like to get a hold of me, my name is Bow Wow Bill, and we are streaming this live on my Bow Wow Bill Facebook page. And I try to do interviews with experts in the dog industry and just have candid conversations, man. Let people kind of be the fly on the wall and listen to experts that, deal with dogs every single day. And so maybe they can glean some knowledge. We have people that are a lot of fellow dog trainers that listen to this as well. And I think that that's excellent that we have a network of cooperation where we just kind of talk about some of the stuff that we do. And maybe it can help others in the industry understand dogs a little bit better, right?
I agree, dude. And everyone who listens to me, follow this guy. He's good shit. He knows his stuff. And as long as it's coming from a rationally experienced place, it's valid in terms of dog training. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry.
No, well, it's just like
okay,
what Dave.
Now we're back. Sorry. Well, all right. I was holding that one in for a while. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm back. The demons have been released. That was... Okay.
So, tell everybody, I'm going to share this real quick. I'm going to share it to my personal page in a couple groups. And while I'm doing that, you want to give everybody just a quick bio about who you are and where you're at?
Yeah, I'm Brett. I'm a dog trainer. I specialize in problem behaviors. I deal with cases that people, are calling lost causes. They can't be trained. It's even the name of my show, the Untrainable. Some of the dogs aren't that bad. But in my everyday practice, I've developed an approach to address these issues at the root cause. I'm also pretty outspoken about the other side of the fence as far as, other types of dog training. We won't mention that or names, but it's because of all the retrain cases I see. So it's developed this persona, if you will, or this very demanding approach to dog training. Not because I think that I'm right. The dogs are the ones who have taught me, but it's just from seeing a lot of people who've been through the ringer with other training styles and hearing what works and what doesn't, and continuing to learn and evolve what I do based on what the dogs need, not on what my emotions tell me to do. It's not always comfortable. It's not always what feels right instinctively as a human, because it's about, how the dogs see it, not us. And tapping into that, that's what gets the job done. So I don't know, is that telling you about me or is that telling you about my type of training?
Well, where are you located at, too? I think that's important as well.
Yeah, I'm in the Los Angeles area, San Fernando Valley. Basically, I'm in that. That's where most of my clients are located. And I'm originally from New York. That's where I grew up.
From New York, relocated to Los Angeles.
I love it, man. It's really a cool lifestyle. I like it. Everyone here is pretty open-minded. It's funny how back in New York, people are a little bit more old school. So getting them to kind of evolve their thinking to see how the dogs see it was a little more challenging. Where here, they almost think it's interesting. They have that ability to see outside of themselves. Some of them. I deal with a lot of actors and actresses, and they're not always so good at that. But for the most part, people there, I love it. The lifestyle, the mindset of the people's great.
Yeah. It's a totally different mindset. I mean, I think that because you guys have such a rich history in New York, and it's a concrete jungle. It's been established there for quite a while, and generations as they grow up, traditions and ways to think about life are passed down. And it's an interesting dynamic to go back and forth. I recently went to Brooklyn and to see just the I like how they don't sugarcoat things.
Oh shit, the forwardness, I love it. And I'm so proud that I grew up there and it gave me my ability to be blunt and honest. But yeah, it's pretty hardcore, especially Brooklyn. People there are not. There's no time to mess around, especially because, like you're saying, the history there. It's there was a little bit more of survival at stake. Where here, if you will, it's the good life. So you have time to be a little nicer to your fellow citizen. Where there, it's like, hey, if you're not getting along with the program, get out of my way. I got shit to take care of. That's more of
Yeah.
that East Coast mentality.
Well, we got people commenting here. Anita says, love the Dog Savant. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Anita. Thank you.
And then Long Island here. And then Dawn, my beautiful wife, says hello. Hello.
Hi, Dawn. I met you last night. What
That's
part of
right.
Long Island are you from? Long Island person.
No, Nall is from Long
Yeah.
Island, New York. Yep.
What
And
part?
whoever,
Okay.
and then Jason Cohen, he's from Brooklyn. He's
I know
Brooklyn Dog
Jason.
Training.
Hey, Jason, what's up, man?
And wherever you're from in the world, list it down in the comments. It's always good to see how many people tune in and where the heck you're from. We have people all over the world that watch this show, and a lot of people like to catch this show live. So if you don't mind hitting that share button and getting this out while we're live, and if you have any questions for Brett or I, go ahead and type them in the comments below, and hopefully we get to them. We want to talk about Brett's new show today, the Untrainables, and we'll show a couple clips and just talk about what he does and some of the observations that he's made as a trainer in the industry and what brought him out to LA. And the thing is that he mentioned a couple things just during his introduction there. One was about lost causes. Where these dogs are labeled lost causes.
It's an epidemic right now, man. I mean, because the purely positives, all right, I said it, they've infiltrated the entire shelter rescue system. The vets are indoctrinated because they've got to be politically correct to keep customers coming back. So it's up to the trainers who are willing to take the hits, who are in the trenches, in the living rooms of the clients and their dogs, and see what's really going on. And like I was saying before, see how the other side of things has merit in its approach for certain elements, but not to deal with these serious cases that are putting dogs on death row. And it's insanity. I mean, it really has become, I mean, it's literally like the what do they call it? The inmates are running the asylum. It's really, and it's like we're the ones who are seen as the bad guys, or at least trying to be portrayed as that. And we're the ones who are actually being reported by the owners, you're helping my dog. Like we said last night, we're not crazy people. We're just stating the facts. We're not fabricating our opinion or our emotions or driving us to see dogs in a certain way. It is what it is, man. If they don't want to hear the truth because it is not hitting their emotional nerve, I mean, that's fine, but get out of the way of the people who are actually able to see through that and get the job done, because it's ridiculous. It's where you see it because you're doing. Is it not worse and worse? Like fucking. I mean, I used to say year after year. Now it's like I'm going month to month. It is uptick of just the chaos with the dogs all over the place out in public. The amount of people, or you look online with all the purely positive rhetoric, it's insanity. And they're trying to tell you that if you're not doing it their way, you're beating the dog. You're giving them whale eyes and tongue flicks, whatever the hell that is. And I did a video the other day is that anything, look, I'm a fat guy, right? Or getting less fat. It's not comfortable to make myself feel better and healthier, so I can live longer and feel better, blah, blah, blah. But it's not going to be comfy most of the time to get to that place. And I'm not physically abused. I'm not traumatized. It's just you have to go through discomfort to make the future more comfortable. And to not see that concept and just safe space the shit out of life for dogs, people, kids, whatever, it's insanity. And getting back to the East Coast, if you want to tie this in, that's not how I grew up. You act like an asshole, you wear a stupid looking hat, someone's going to tell you you're acting like an asshole, you're wearing a stupid looking hat. And that's really more of how I really observe the dog world operates. There's more checks and balances only for the sake of everyone feeling better in the long run and getting needs met. That's it.
Well, everybody feeling better, but the dog's paying for it with their lives. We have to remember the consequences that are being faced here. And I've seen, and I can even think about, and if I even start talking about it, Brett, I'll start crying, dude, because these dogs had so much potential, and they unfortunately met, with the demise because the behavior that they wanted to fix wasn't able to be fixed within the scope that they were trying to use.
Because of that narcissistic thinking that if I can't do it, no one can. That's insanity. I mean, it really, and it's sad because you see some of these dogs, you're like, that was what they said can't be trained or fixed. And sometimes it's not even a major case. We know what major cases are. It's like, oh, it just had to be addressed. We had to
Yeah.
talk about what was going on, and
Or
that's
it
all it
needed
comes down to.
time. It needed time too. Like,
Yeah, and consistency, and people changing their
yes.
ways, and the owners acting differently. That the positive trainers don't like telling the owners what to do either. They have a real deficiency because they want everyone to like them. That's another issue that limits their ability to address the issues too. Because remember, I've dissected these people psychologically because they've tried to harm me and my livelihood, and they're like ultimately not helping dogs and killing them. I feel they're the worst thing for dogs ever, is that kind of thinking. They've changed the whole game. When I grew up or started as a dog trainer in the 90s, it wasn't like this at all. At
What
all.
what what was what do you do? What do you think that's different? I agree. I mean, and
The
even with
internet. The internet and the
mm,
younger generation being raised in a more purely positive way, and the psychologists doing what the purely positive trainers doing, the humans. And these, I don't say they're all younger because I don't want to pick on a lot of great younger trainers, but a lot of them are subscribing to this, and they don't deviate from their thinking. So their personalities afford themselves to want to do the purely positive because their own psychology, and it's fucking up the dogs, dude. That's all it comes down to.
well, and you said prescribed, a little Freudian slip, and I think that
Yeah,
a lot of
right.
this is,
Well, the
you
meds,
know,
right? Right, the
yeah.
meds. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it trickles down to the dogs too. I've had dogs coming to me, and I'm like, what is all these bottles of pills for? And
Cornucopia sometimes of that shit. Insanity.
it's insane, man. And that's, one of my goals here with bringing on real dog trainers that have had a track record of fixing these lost causes, so to speak, and saying that this isn't a lost cause. And if you listen to like JT Clough, who I interviewed before, I'm trying to think of who else, but there's a pattern in dog trainers. If you ask professionals how they got into it, a lot of them had a difficult dog, and they went to various trainers and saw that it wasn't working, but they loved this animal and they're going to do whatever it takes. And then they find out if they find a good trainer that meets the problem head on, and some of these problems need to be met head on because they're a liability. They can hurt the dog, they can hurt other people. And we as humans, that's our job as stewards of these animals, to show them how to coexist in the human world. Knowing
Yes.
that we are higher consciousness, and knowing that we can structure the environment so that they may learn and benefit, and we can open up those lines of communication. But just like what you said, let that dog show us, you
Of
know?
course, because it's how they're seeing it, not our personal opinions about it. It's about what it is as terms of our nature. Because a dog isn't going to deviate because you feel a certain way about it. And
Mm.
again, if you can't see, there's a bird out on the patio. The dogs are very interested right now. Yes, I know, Minnie Mouse. But yeah, and it's just, again, at a certain point, it's not even just because you get attacked by these people or you hear the stuff that they say. That is just, even as a rational person, even like we were talking about yesterday, the clients, most people are smart. Most
Yes.
people can see through it. They see the emotions and they're like, you know what, this didn't even work with my kids. How is it going to work with my dog? And they also know, like, yes, we also know, like, with our kids, we're not pulling out the belt or the soap in the mouth like the older school. Like, look, there were older school trainers who were a little too physically rough and doing things that were
Yes.
not helpful for the dogs or the cause and could cause trauma, if you will. But not if you're correcting a dog or creating rules or getting them to face a part of life that they were fighting off tooth and nail as their demise, to just for the rest of their life grow through it and see, like, oh, I'm not going to die when I pass a dog on a leash, or the UPS man doesn't mean I have to protect the house like we're in World War III. Why is making them face the music at all in any way, shape, or form a bad thing if it's going to foster that growth? It makes no sense, and I don't think normal people who think rationally think other than that. But it's just these purely positive. It's a small select group of people who I don't think have a lot of clients, or they're losing clients, so they spend a lot of time on the internet putting horseshit information. So on 4th of July, they're telling you to keep your dogs hidden instead of teaching them and giving you tips on how to get them acclimated to fireworks, because they don't have clients that need them to help with that. And that's what it comes down. Or they're teaching agility classes in the local big box store, and that's fine. Pretty positive. I taught my little Yorkie here how to skateboard. You teach a
Yeah.
lot of recall work with that, a lot of shaping, a lot of puppies, of course. I use
Absolutely.
treats. You'll see in the next episode of the Untrainables, it is a lot more luring. That's why I wanted to, because it's 12 episodes shot. I wanted to give that variation because it's not all about just putting the star mark on the collar or creating structure. Sometimes it's teaching and shaping and this recall. So, it's just these people are just so polarized in their thinking. You use a pinch collar, that's it. You're an abuser. Your dog has whale eyes. You flick. It's insane. They're melting down, and they try to harm the livelihoods of people who are actually saving dogs' lives. And it's really, really, I really appreciate what you're doing with this podcast show, whatever you call it, because it's getting more trainers together, just to kind of hear us shoot the shit about, because we can't talk to anyone else on the level like this. I complain to my clients, and if they've been through purely positive training, they'll, oh yeah, man, oof, at least
A lot of times they're traumatized, dude. A lot of times they're
like, at least
traumatized.
I know I'm not crazy. Like, okay, because they're like, I knew this was weird, and that trainer was goofy, and they had weird, like, big eyes, and they were all, like, pandering in how they talked to me, and sing-songy voices, because that's the personality type of these people. And I was like, okay, well, this is different, and you see the results, you see your dog calmer, you see your dog accept life even from one session on, and it's like, okay, and then I'm saying, but then that's like, you can't talk like, oh, man, like, we're, like, having, like group therapy. We should do like a multi one, like all of us, like who've been like,
Yeah.
like abuse survivor victims, like come
Yeah,
together.
trauma.
Yeah,
My
like
name
we've
my
all
name
been
is
beat
Bill.
up by
I'm a dog trainer.
by the little worm guy. The past few years, that little worm who was trolling everyone. That
Yeah, we're not even going to mention
no, of course not,
that
because
idiot's
he's a
name.
worm, not a human. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's funny, like people who have like had to deal with that. It's just stress, dude. We love dogs. We go through a lot of
We
shit.
traded our lives.
We trade
Yeah.
our lives for this. I sacrificed everything to even be out here to work on the show and all that because of how much I want to spread this message to help dogs. And these assholes who just have a feeling because they got anger, whatever's wrong with them, they want to hurt the people who are just telling you how it is. It's sad. It's a
Well, it's
sad.
purely. I think that the most salacious attacks I've ever received in my life are from trainers that consider themselves to be purely positives, and I think that it's also very telling that the salacious attacks that happen to people, it's like only one way, this street of being positive, and it's like, why can't we, have come together? There's a Woodrow Wilson quote, I believe, about, if I come to you with my fist balled, or you come to me with your fist balled, mine are going to ball up right away. And if we can come together talking, I got to get the quote now. But that's it. It's like they're already, and I get it because we're in the emotional arena. But the thing is, and we talked about this, is like they're trying to think with their emotions,
And it
and that's
blinds them. It's
separate.
like when a dog's in reactive state, they're unconscious. It requires
Mm.
someone to be conscious to guide them through. The problem is with a dog, if you prove that consciousness and communicate your intent, they back off and they trust our leadership. For a
Yes.
human like that, if you show the intentions, if they weren't parented properly, they're going to just fucking fight harder and find other ways, which dogs can do initially, but they'll still come to that end result of trusting your leadership. A human's just going to try to dance around and find other ways to hurt you because they're never going to back off, as we saw with the little worm, because this guy just goes down in a hole and pops back up and re-evolves himself. Even if it's in other realms of life, he takes his psychology to hurt other, like I think he does other, not just dog stuff, But I'm just saying, like, that kind of thing is that mentality. Those people, they're very damaged. I feel sad for them, but they still, you can't have that much compassion where you don't stand strong against them and narrate and explain how they are so other people get wise to them, because that understanding of their psychology, I think, is the real power against them, is to just say, hey, I know where you're coming from, and I know you better than you know yourself, so stand off because I'm not backing off from your abuse. Because that's
Yeah,
it. It's just
exactly.
bullies, abusers, all that stuff,
Well, and sometimes they need to realize that that's it. They've taken it to a point of abuse, and and not only that, but just like we were talking about luring and shaping, every dog is an individual. And when I do training with the dogs, I do obedience work, and I call that foundation work. But once that foundation is laid, man, I'm shaping every day. I don't feed my dogs out of the bowls. I feed them, walking around, just doing tricks and having fun.
and
It's all
proof the
positive.
shit out of what you teach them. Get them out in the world and
Yeah.
apply that in real life. Go through that. Who cares if you're going to get collar shamed by the public because you're training your dog how to do something now out with distractions? It's only going to
Yes.
get them better. It's like building a muscle. Everything gets stronger through, again, it's going to be uncomfortable and challenging for the dog and the owner, but if you handle it and build it from, like you're saying, the shaping stage of it all the way up to the proofing, then it's like, yeah, of course, like we can expect. You just have to, you're saying the time and no one sees the big picture. I think last night you had mentioned a certain dogs that take 6 months.
I got
So
one
what?
here. I got
Humans
one
could
here.
take a
It's going to be
decade to
6
fix
months.
an issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And it's where I have a case now. The client, she's so much improved, but if you saw her in class, you'd still think she was the worst dog in class. But she is, I mean, I'd say exponentially more improved than any other dog in that class combined. But they've been working with it for a year and has the most dedicated owners I've ever seen.
Awesome.
So they're going to continue to improve because they think this way, they get it. Other people, like, I have some of these clients who, that's really names I can't mention. They just pay me. They want me to come every day, and in certain instances, I'll do it, or I'll say, "Look, I got to pass this." I got a guy who's a nanny for his dogs, literally
Yeah.
bona fide, a nanny for his 2 dogs that is dedicated, and a chef just for he has no kids, very wealthy. But the nanny and me, the dogs are impeccable for us, and he has issues, and I only still come because he says, I know it's me, I got to follow through better, blah, blah, blah. But some people are like, no, I just want my dog fixed. If you can't fix it, that's it. I'm like, well, your dog is going to take 6 months, whatever. I wish
As long as it
your
takes.
dog or give it to another owner and I'll work with them. But this is not, you don't understand. Or I could show you maybe even a result right away, but it doesn't mean it's fixed. It means your dog senses an influence from someone who understands the dynamics of the situation. Now I got to teach you, and it's complicated, and the time has to be put in, and every week you have to build upon the stages and some people have a hard time with that, even just there. And everyone means well. Everyone loves their animals. Even those the purely positive people mean well, but they don't understand what they're doing. And when they hear what they're doing, they fight off the reality of what we're trying to teach them or explain to get them to see, be more aware. It's like a self-awareness exercise, all of this. Really
one of my biggest wake-up calls was when I was training a dog with purely positive, and I think that the majority of that's where we start, but then when I went out and I'm sitting there doing a stay with this dog and I'm trying to do my treats, stay, backing up, dog takes off and runs into the road.
Jeez, without a leash?
With a leash, luckily, but it was, I couldn't grab it. I had to run and like chase this dang dog, and I'm like, whoa, this is, and it was, made me get a long line. It taught me, but then I was just like, man, I got to have a method that is bulletproof, and I searched it, and I'm searching. But the thing is that I tell people all the time, don't listen to me. Let your dog show you that I know what I'm talking about. Your dog's going to tell you if I'm full of crap or not.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Owners aren't going to let you come back if there's not a response and you're doing something that's bad for them.
Unless I sell the owners and just be like, hey, look, this is normal.
Yeah, your dog.
10 more lessons and we're good.
Or your dog reaching in my pocket, with its nose for the treats. That's just perfectly normal for training.
Let's listen to read some comments. Training a handler and owner is more difficult. That's exactly what we were talking about yesterday. Is like that is the dogs are the easy part all day long.
That's all it is. It really the whole even look. We did a lot more than the 5 minutes the shows are, but it's for the internet. It's got to be kind of quick information. But the takeaway is like if you don't train the owner, the dogs won't listen. That's really what the untrainables is really. It really means the owner. That's all this is. It's the untrainable owner. If you can train the owner, the dog can, because they'll put in the time and change their ways for the dog's needs.
Well, that's dedication is what we need. Sacrifice that what most considered a life, but every day I'm changing lives, mine included. Good job, Anita.
Yeah, I like Anita. Anita's one of those ones that actually stuck around. People get weird on social media when I have some show out. I don't know. We talked about it last night. Some people are a little funny with me, but I hope you appreciate what I'm trying to share and get more of the right kind of message out there to more people.
Absolutely. Well, and that's it, is that we all kind of have our own tune that we sing, all of our hearts beat to a different beat, and we have something that's going to correspond with people. And, that's why we all have stuff to teach and learn from each other. The thing is to really do it instead of spinning our wheels in causality or calling something blue when it's black, or it's like we have to know what the truth is. And truth, people have asked me, what is truth? And I say truth is anything that has undergone the event of having occurred or is occurring right now. Very simple. Not your perception of it. Not your perception of it, not your perception. Your perceptions.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big problem too, is that people think that their perception is truth instead of your perception is a culmination of your experiences and life and trauma and all this stuff. And it's completely different. And that's a beautiful thing about life, is that we are all different. But the thing is that we do need to understand that thinking that your perception is truth is what's called solipsism. And we call that the biggest lie.
It's like confirmation bias, right? Is that
the
same idea?
You just because it's I mean, you can pretty much finagle anything when it's all up in here.
Well, look, people do that to the point of seeing things that aren't there. Literally, I mean, that's the nature of people.
Or not seeing,
they create it out of their past traumas, their wiring, their karma, whatever you want to see it as,
Right.
Is it okay if I walk around while we're doing this? If you see me, I want to grab another cup of coffee.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, but just don't be pacing if you don't mind, just because you don't want to make people motion sick or whatever. But positive only trainers don't understand how to communicate. I also don't think it's much foundation. Just like we were talking about, Bobby, much foundation work we use before adding the corrections. And that's the other thing too, is that the conditioning phase with this foundation work, it's all about time. Yeah. Remember, slow is fast, less is more.
Dude, I saw I was with a client at a park the other day, and I saw, you know how you can just tell when it's another trainer by their stance and how they're talking with a dog under on a leash and a group of family in front of them, right? Like, oh, that's a trainer. So we passed by, but then I come by, I'm like, I got to hear. I'm kind of funny. I'm like, let's listen what he's got to say. He was a little puppy golden, probably 4 or 5 months old, and he was correcting the shit out of it. It was already cowering. I'm like, too much I didn't say it, but I'm like, see, that's the other side of the fence. That's too much too soon. The guy wasn't reading the dog. And just by age, what possibly could that puppy be doing to warrant, maybe you shouldn't be out in the park practicing yet because you haven't built up that focus or the command work to even be correcting it.
You're over threshold. You're in overwhelm. Don't correct that dog for being overwhelmed. Recognize where the thresholds are and work on that, and so the dog can get more and more
comfortable. So sorry, guys, for me, like.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was working so late last night, and I had to do a bunch of things before me and Bill here are doing our show. So
yeah, we were chatting
about morning routine. I know it's a little late here, but
and while you're doing that, I'm going to read some more. We have a bunch of comments.
The camera. That's just lame. I'm not going to be that guy. Okay.
There you go. We see your nostrils. But hold on, Brett. I'm going to read some more comments here, okay?
Okay, cool.
William says, had a customer this week, dog pulled on lead for 4 years, never wanted to use a slip lead as it felt it was cruel. However, 1 minute in dogs walking on a loose lead, when used the gentle leader, the dog pulled and cuts his nose trying to get it off. So
the fucking harnesses put pressure on their body. I'm like, you're going to put a few corrections or some focus building or take time to structure the walk, and then you have a loose leash for the rest of their life, but instead you rather put a harness and they're pulling and reacting because of it for years. How does that make sense? Because in your mind, it's perceived as gentle. It makes no sense. Yeah, that's what we see. What he just explained in that comment is exactly what guys like us see and why we say what we say. And then when we're saying, like, what are we living in the twilight zone? We're talking about what we just saw in the client's house just today and many, many times before. And now you're telling us we're crazy, we're dog abusers, we don't know what we're doing. It's so frustrating. However, more of us, I think, are, because I don't know if you notice, I'm seeing more dogs out in public walk with pinch collars and walked in a strut. I think it's almost the pendulum swinging the other way. I think people like Jeff and other people are putting a lot of good online info and giving because I send a lot of my clients to Larry, those kind of guys, sending that really good, like putting it out there, taking the hits because I'm like showing.
Well, we got a shout out.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Eric, all
those
guys, and
he's coming on.
And people are smart, like we talked about. Yeah, Eric Latender, that's how you pronounce it, right? Sorry, Eric, if I'm not. But I've known Eric for a while, and he gets it. And that book is one of the most awesome books to break this all down. It's the book I wish I wrote 10 years ago. It's awesome. I tell all my clients, I share it with them. It really opens your eyes to what's really going on.
To
and
what
is. Need to know this.
Yep. To what is.
Not be afraid to speak like we're speaking. And not think that because you're not being politically correct about dogs, you're going to be called a dog abuser. Our track records speak for themselves. we haven't done anything where people's words aren't going to hurt us. And yes, I remember a few years ago when I was relocated here and I was restarting my business and my reputation to get the show. I was scared of what these people could say about me because they had more time to put information with my name on Google searches. But you know what? Once you get to a point where you're like, no, the dogs need me to just say what I have to say, and you get a good reputation in the real world, the online world, those people don't mean anything. And then it's just like what Jeff and Larry and these guys are doing to help just more dog owners. Look, my show isn't as technical, but that's the point of it, is to just get people to realize if you change, your dog can change. You can put a collar on your dog. You can take the harness off and you're not going to choke them. And it's funny, you're talking about the people come out of the woodwork. Try it when you have a show that gets nearly 500,000 views and see what kind of comments are coming out. What I know is the network are smart, and the people on my side and want the dogs to be helped, they see what's going on too. So those few people that are doing that, they're all, but that we're addressing it because they want people to don't listen to those comments, see what's really going on, even on this more kind of watered down level, where it's a more simple version of what I would like my clients. It takes weeks and months where we're trying to hit in 5 minutes, points so that a dog owner can take away an idea and then even maybe find their local trainer or go find someone like Jeff, Larry, all these people who put all my dog trainer friends.
Anybody that I've interviewed.
Anyone. Yeah, exactly, man. People who get it. And we're all a little different, but we're seeing in general the same thing in terms of dogs. We're different people, personalities, lifestyles, but we get it. And I really think our experience, not our feelings about it, and the experiences of working with owners and hearing the stories and hearing their experience, that's really what's driving us to do what we do. And seeing it works. Look, if enough unrelated people tell you the shit works, you keep coming back and doing it, right? Especially if it's helping because it feels good.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It says, William says, restraining rather than training. That's great. I like that. Restraining rather than training. I mean, what is, and then, worse watching them walk in a protection harness, handler screaming heel, and that's it.
Friendly.
Screaming, screaming their heads off. And I'm just like, man, this can't be fun. And just like, we need to remember too, that, when this dog is, like you said, creating World War III, when the UPS driver or, afraid that other dog is going to kill him or whatever the problem is that we're dealing with, we have to remember that is a stress response that is happening to that dog, and stress releases endorphins and adrenaline and
they're
all this stuff that's
overstimulated. It's like a soda bottle shaking, and they're treating in everyday life as they're responding to it as if it was a life or death threat, and they're getting that autonomic nervous system response. And we have to put them through, turn it off, deal with it. You're not going to be comfortable turning it off and dealing with it, but let me redirect you through the situation to see what it really is. Because once you get them calm, focused, and you're in control, they're filtered. They're not getting the sensory overload. And that's where, that overstimulated response, people don't understand. Your dog's not just upset at the mailman. Your dog thinks it's going to die and is in such a frenzied state. That's why they'll turn around and react, displace the reaction to an owner, or they bite the leash in a frenzy. They just are blind to what's going on. They're just, I'm going to die. And that's where the anal glands express, or if they can't bite at it, they run the hell out of it. It's so deep rooted. And when it's an animal, I can't even imagine how it is to let that perpetuate.
survival.
To let that perpetuate, or to avoid addressing that's the real abuse to me. Not doing the work that's required to get a dog to see life on life's terms and feel safe through it.
That to me is not labeling the correct behavior. That's why I have to remind people, dude, this is stress. This isn't excitement. This isn't your dog being, uncanny or vocal or whatever. This is not good. This is degrading that body, and not only that, but it's degrading that life experience. And we're bringing this dog into the world, and if they're stressing out, then that lies on us, and that because we're not going out to their world. We're not going to go sniff butts and crap in the field or something, whatever. We're going out getting their food, and I never had a dog.
I knew a girl. She was a trainer. She used to have dogs do board and trains, and the day they would arrive, she admitted this to me because I dated her a little bit. She would pee in the yard in front of them. Day one to establish dominance. Is that on the lines of spitting in the dog's mouth?
Who knows, man?
I
I
don't know.
don't,
I've never done either, but I guess I could see. Hey, if you're willing to go there, no harm, no
Dude,
foul,
I
right?
listen to this, man. I listened to a Belgian trainer tell that you needed to masturbate your dog.
Dude, that's just wrong. That's not even cool. I mean, I know breeders who do weird stuff like that, but that's different. But if it's like
Like after
never
they
had to
did
do that, sorry guys, it's
yeah,
not
I
in
don't,
the
but, and I
protocol.
even watching it, I was just like, dude, he's serious. And then he went over and did it. Like, I wasn't there. Like, I saw it on video, and it was just like that South Park Red Rocket thing, man. The dog was like, hell yeah, we're ready to rock. And I'm like, I can't believe
How
that
do you
this.
convince a client that you're gonna give your dog a rub and tug in the process of the training program?
Well, if you do, man, you're a hell of a salesman. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, dude, sell ice to the Eskimos, man. I guess because that's impressive. Not good training, folks. I wouldn't recommend
No,
any of
absolutely.
those three techniques we just mentioned are not what I'd
Get
say
away
would
from
get the
those.
job done to help these these lost cause dogs. I think there's
Yeah,
better
maybe
different
you're not
people
willing to
than
do whatever it takes, you know. Yeah, that's it, you know, and that is okay. I haven't heard a story like that. I'm gonna find it. I gotta find
yeah,
like Google it, man. You'll
I see
find
some
it.
ill
There's
stuff.
trainers out
That's
there.
pretty crazy. Yeah, that's a little disturbing.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, that's it. Is like people are out there, dude, and you know, and that's the other thing too is that we as individuals, and then the dog is an individual, and then we're dealing with an individual on top of that, and then we have the environment that's always changing. And so this is definitely an art and a science. Rough and tug.
Uh,
Everybody's all commenting on it. I believe you, Bill. Yeah, I'm not lying. Yeah, I'm perplexed. I was.
R&T dog training school.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the dogs. Never mind. We'll just switch the subject.
Okay.
Dude, I'm done. All right.
I can't see the comments.
Oh, you can't. Well, here it says, "I believe you, Bill." I'll just pop them up. Big
I believe you. I'll
eyeballs.
take your word
Big
for it. Right,
eyeballs.
exactly. I'm with
Imagine
them.
that in a group class.
Oh, well, that's called. Now, let's stop. Let's
Yeah,
stop. Yeah,
that's purely positive, like on steroids, man. I don't know. So,
that's wrong. Well, look,
so
again,
let's
if you
talk
don't
about
want
the
to get so.
untrainables, dude.
Oh, the Untrainable. Dude, so I'm psyched. If
Oh,
anyone
shit.
knows my.
Hold on. There we go.
Oh, okay. If anyone knows my story, I relocated to LA. I have a lot of family here, but I also was here because I had the opportunity to do a show. It was a long process. It's not like you just get lucky. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of meetings, a lot of this is going to happen, then it does it. And I actually was going to do a show for Nat Geo Wild. I had a pilot deal. We were going to do a first season for 2019. I was literally going to replace Caesar. I had the same production team. I had the same business manager for 6 months. And it was it. That was what I was sort of alluding to back in like the winter time. I couldn't talk about it because I was under contract, but I did a huge pilot. I got paid a lot of money. It was a big thing. I was, like when you're a dog trainer, a dude from Queens who on a last 40-year-old, because life was hard for me until I moved out here, a last Hail Mary at life, and it actually is working out. You're like, oh shit. Then it doesn't work out. The day my contract ended, Nat Geo says, nope, because I think Disney bought it. It was something. It wasn't really because of me. It was just something happened with their network. But anyway, a week later, Jukin Media, who does, if anyone knows the Chewbacca, that lady with the Chewbacca, man, they do a lot of like the cutesy videos, stuff that me and Bill talking about are not the kind of stuff that we're really privy to as real dog trainers. It's sort of more the cutesy. It's why we love dogs, but we're like, stop thinking that way. You got to get real with your dog because they have problems. But it's on that network. And they wanted to do real training programs, like not the cutesy stuff. So they heard what happened. They reached out to me. And I was a dick. I was like, dude, I just went through the ringer with Nat Geo. Fuck Hollywood. I hate you people. I'm not going to take clients in the bit. And honestly, 75% of my clients are in the business in one way or another. It's just incestuous here. And so I was like, fuck them. I'm mad. I even had a meltdown like on social media a few months ago over it. And they're like, no, Brett, we really want to work with you. We just got to meet you. And I'm like, fine, I'll come in. And they gave me a deal. So we shot 12 episodes. There's been 2 out. They come out every Saturday. And it's been great. And it really is just, like I said, it's sort of like an abridged version of what I do with my clients. We don't cover the full spectrum. That's what we're hoping to do if we go into more seasons, to get a longer, more detailed show to evolve it. But it's great. I mean, do you want to? Is that kind of what you want me to talk about? Do you want to talk about actual episodes? The anything?
Well, I could show an episode. I mean, we
Sure,
can give
yeah,
an example.
yeah. If you want to show like clips, I don't know if people really
Let's see.
want to watch the whole thing, but we can even talk about the hairbrush one if you want to. Yeah, Saunders, that dog.
Is this the one here?
Because you know why it's good? Because this is one that I actually look. Even when you get hundreds of comments, you still can't help yourself. And at 3 a.m, you read the damn things, right? So most of them are really helpful. And I'm going to be doing more Q&As for the show. Like, it's really interactive kind of thing. It's not like just the show. So I'm going to be answering a lot of people just want help with their dogs. But the few trolls, they had the issue with him being under stress and this and the collar, and they think I'm using a choker collar. I haven't used a choker chain since the 90s. That's how I was taught, but I use different tools. I don't really use them. Slips, I do. This is a Star Mark collar in this episode, just to have some control because he bit me, and the whole idea again is like we're talking about. It's like, well, how is it going to help this dog to let him see grooming as his demise versus for a couple weeks letting him sit there and deal with getting brushed because we took some control back. And then he looks like, oh, it's fine. And to be honest, if we had more time for the show, I would have shown more exercises to acclimate the brush with treats. I get all that. Look, it's a show. And that's the thing also, because people think Caesar, I know Caesar, and I know the people who work with him directly. He's a real trainer too. It's the Victorias. They're the ones who are actors and actresses portraying trainers. Caesar has a way with dogs people don't like. And a lot of what he does is showmanship. Anyone who I know has worked with him, he does it a little differently than what you see on the show and the things he teaches you in detail. So it's the same idea, but that's where, not to qualify myself, but to like anyone who's like, oh boy, even people like Brett does balance training, but he just jumped right in. Yes, because we had an hour to do it. Probably should have been done in 2 weeks, but we had to make a point because there's hundreds of other dogs that have that issue that someone's watching. They can start doing it, or they can find a trainer that gets it. Oh, okay, this trainer doesn't use harnesses. Maybe he'll help me with my dog's hairbrush. That's why we're doing this show. That's all it is.
Show people a different form of what's possible, dude. That's it. It's like, look, you don't have to live like this.
The dogs change. That's all this is about. And anyone who's getting that, I appreciate that. Because some people in the dog world already, I've seen a few shit comments. And I'm like, guys, you have to understand what it's like. It's not like I'm giving technical videos. It's a network creating it. But the network has been so great as far as letting me do what I do, and they're just editing the key points. It's really actually been, it's not like I'm doing a caricature of myself. I mean, it is pretty much what I tell people. It's pretty, so that I'm cool with. You want to get to the clip finally, so then I'll shut up? Because I
just want to make a point that this is basic animal husbandry. Like this dog cannot live without being maintenance. I mean, it would turn into a horrible life for this animal. And
it's not just the hairbrush; it could be it's other things too. It's just and he's gonna bite a kid over the dog. A kid moving too fast near it, or petting it over the head, or whatever. There's too much at stake, and then of course the dog could get put down or live a miserable life of anxiety every day. Oh my God, where's that hairbrush going to come from?
Or get mats, like or get overgrown nails. That every step is painful, right? So we gotta. I mean, this is just stuff that if it's not dealt with, and we also talk about this, and we're gonna have to do another one, man, where we just talk about energetic influences with training as well. Because
last night, I would love to get. I don't know if we have time for that, but we'll definitely get into that.
Yeah, but not today because we've got to run here.
Guys, anyone who watches my stuff and follow, Bill gets this, man. He says things like, I'm like, man, that's the shit I'm seeing, but he put it into such awesome words.
Yeah, that's helped when you can grasp it, because it is real, man. I mean, there is a metaphysical influence to this world, and it does not require your belief to be real. It is real. There are things that you can do to test it. It's just that people don't like it when the tests come back to them confirming.
Because it makes their ego feel uncomfortable, and they fight that thing. Yeah.
Well, the logical mind is, but we have to remember that our subconscious is connected to that. But that's a whole other episode. Like I was saying, let's go ahead and watch this first.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And if you see people, we're approaching 500,000 views right here, and it's just been posted a couple times. So let's take a look and make sure the volume, everything's, well, here, let me turn on the volume. Yeah,
because honestly, without a lot of views, we don't get picked up for a second season, and that's what it's about. Once it's a second season, then we can get that message out even to a greater audience.
Yeah. So share this, you guys. Go to Brett's page, share these episodes. I'll share it down in the comments below as well, but let's take a look at what he's doing.
Maybe a Schnauzer Yorkie, and he gets like aggressive when I come near him with a brush.
He was all over the map. My name is Brett Endies, and I specialize in severe problem behaviors in dogs.
This is Saunders.
You know, seeing my dog in it makes me. I don't give a
Hold
shit
on,
about
hold on.
myself. It's my dog, my own dog. It's so cool. Booey.
Say that again, Brett.
Oh, seeing my own dog in it is the coolest part of all this.
Yes. Here, let me play it again.
That's fine. If you want, you can even fast forward to the hairbrush stuff. I mean, because that's the point where people. What are the triggers for this possessiveness that you're talking about?
Mostly, a lot of times, it's just people and the hairbrush.
Well, I think that's important too. That
some of those items you were talking about. Let's get to work.
Look at how it's like let's go ahead and deal with it, you know. And I find it interesting how people will explain the dog's problems, and I can find out how much they're anthropomorphizing these animals too when they do that. I'm going to fast forward here.
Well, her issue is that she's so emotionally connected to it, and I hate to say it, but sometimes people who don't have real children have a harder time with that disconnect to treat a dog like a dog. And you know, and again, I feel kind of bad because some of the
go in the house. You kicked her out of there. You have to watch from the window.
I could feel that shit come off of her like it was like a waterfall of energy coming at me and her dog, which was not helping for when I was going to push this issue right here. It was just not going to. I mean, I have some clients where I do, give me some space or whatever, but again, it's a show, so you want to make it a little more. The kickout's got to be more dramatic. I'm pulling.
But you can tell already she's calming down.
Yeah, and again, this is right there. So pause that. That like the tongue flick, the mouth open. Of course he's not comfortable, but he's also accepting the brush and through enough experiences where he's like, I didn't die. And we start doing more triage. Because what I took her home with was like, don't do what I just did. For the next week or two, just bring the hairbrush out, have him sit calmly in a place, and give him some treats and let him observe it for a few minutes. And just bring it out more and more, then slowly get it closer, touch him with it, brush a part of his body. And over time, he'll get acclimated. I pushed it, but he's still feeling safer even if he's not comfortable with it, which will keep becoming more comfortable and completely safe in his mind if you just daily do those exercises. And that's all this comes down to is dealing with it and pushing the issue and skillfully getting the dog in the right controlled state of mind. And then they can see what's going on with that sensory filter, that ability to just say, all right, you're in control. I've got a job to do. I'm calm enough to see it, and I'll deal with it. Now the rewards can come in and all that after the fact, once they see it the right way, So
yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with the dog, and most people are like, good, now teach me how to brush my dog. Because most people are fed up, and when it comes down to it, most people in their living rooms aren't dancing around like, I don't know, like there was a show they used to call it called The Magic Garden I grew up watching. It was just the most like hippie-ish. Everything was sing-songy and nothing was bad. And it was just purely positive, like sunshine and unicorns. And I was like, bullshit. People if anything say, Brett, I yelled at my dog. I'm like, good. You know what that means? You're human. And you're not supposed to yell. It's not going to help the issue, but you're human, which means they have no aversion to creating rules for their dogs. When they just out in public, they don't want to be ashamed or abused. That's all it comes down to, is the public perception of how people come off from, and most people, if you say, hey, look, you're not a bad dog owner for creating rules. You are human if you get upset at them and want more from them. Then that alone gives them the empowerment to get the job done.
Yeah. Well, and to know that they're not alone, and that's the reason why I do this as well, is just to show people, hey, look, man, there's a whole network of people, and if you want to, if you want help within your area, I have networks of trainers that I trust, and get a hold of me if you're really having a hard time. But it does take dedication, and it's not easy. And I love my clients, man. I love them, especially the ones that we've gotten through some pretty big situations because they've done the work and they see the value of that, and they become ambassadors of good dog ownership or good stewardess,
The general public
and unicorn.
Sunshine and unicorns.
Yeah,
it's all about sunshine and unicorns.
I wish, man, but
SNU Dog Training School. We got the RNT and the SNU. We just branded 2 new names for dog training academy.
I'm buying the .coms right now.
There you go.
Well, and that's it. Is overall to remember that we have a pretty big task ahead of us as far as educating the public about dogs. And people ask me, how will you know when you're a success? And I will know when these dogs that are being put to sleep every year goes down significantly, and the children that are getting bit every year goes down significantly. And those are my key statistics that I'm focused on.
Do they have statistics on dog-to-dog incidents, like where dogs bite dogs, whether it be mostly like out in public or at dog parks, because there's less, the vet, I guess it would be vet statistics, like how many end up, requiring vet care or get euthanized or killed from.
Yeah.
I mean, because look, to me, most of my cases are leash based reactivity towards other dogs, because there's
Yeah.
to a dog being in a restricted position on a leash when they're walking in a hypervigilant way, another dog is seen as the most potential threat to them, and that comes back to that leadership, structured walking, and acclimation in the that's why I do a group class so all the dogs can walk in a pack and learn an experience of being close to other dogs, but the other dogs are under control too. So it promotes, and that's the whole energy thing. I say it's like when geese are in a flock, they're moving and they all turn and sync at the same time, or dolphins or wolves. How are they checking in with each other, or do they just feel it? There's an energy grid, and that's something you can create with you and your dog that would make the external energy of another dog not crash into them like two waves hitting each other. You're flowing more like a river. If you want to give physical analogies to that thing with energy, it's sad if a trainer doesn't get that. That means I think they don't have enough experience or their own awareness of their internal workings to see what's going on in the dogs. That's my opinion. That's why people who poo-poo Caesar, look, there's things I do differently, but I don't think that message is off kilter from what's really going on with dogs. I hate kids. Oh, you should not. No, I'm not against him. I would love. I mean, honestly, I tell my clients, watch his show. Again, it's a show, so it's not going to give all the details, and it is dramatic because he's an entertainer, but it also is good message. And the energy thing is a huge component of everything with us too as humans. And that's why I appreciate you, because you not only get it, I'm sure a lot of trainers get it, but you articulate it so well. I think that in itself, not only a show, but could be a whole book, a whole seminar series, and everything.
Oh, dude, I'm working on it. I'm working on the power of intention with training, and I've already told people down in Australia, California, Philadelphia, and I have, you know what, dude, I can show proof. I mean, I can show proof of the electromagnetic field. Let me see what books I have here that I could just see.
Morphic resonance with Dr. Sheldrake studies that with dogs.
Yeah, science of being stared at when the dogs.
Dude, all that.
All that stuff. Here, right here, man. Primary perception. So this one right here. On my massage table. What I got?
Do you
this
give
one.
or take the massages, Bill?
What's that?
Are you giving or taking the massages?
I'm not. After my freaking R&B comment, I'm not saying another word.
For the dogs, Bill.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is by Cleve Baxter. This is Colonel Baxter wrote this. Okay. And what happened was, and I've talked about this before, is that they around the time that they invented the lie detector test, which reads different cues from our body and our electromagnetic system, and our heart runs on that. And any deviations show that maybe that there might be some underlying subconscious hurdles or hold on one second. I might have to go grab my dogs here.
Positive person at the gate.
Just a second. Hey, ow.
I'll talk. So what Bill's talking about is true. There's a
so
called
they took
HETS, and it's
what's
about
that?
those. I was just filling in the dead air time. I was talking about, the hex suit is. They use them for hunters, use them, and sharks, marine, and it's that suit that blocks that. And I actually have one. And it's funny because I got a new one that was fitting better, and my dogs do act different when I put it on around them. Like, they know it's me, but their demeanor's I mean, they're not off-put, but I know my dogs, right? Their vibe is different. It's like that thing is missing from me that they're feeling as a frequency as their five senses are interacting with me. Really, that's real. Hunters who I know who use it. I mean, I know a guy who bow hunts, and if you bow hunt, you got to get really close to the animals. And he was telling me he was turkey hunting with that suit on. He's like, look, you just know, because he's like, I've been hunting for years, and I had a turkey literally brush against me when I was literally got that close, where never would a turkey would, if I was not wearing that suit, would have and you see like energy, we all have our little version of life, like where we can project through the leash or with our hands on different points of the dog's body. Just like if you get acupuncture, it disrupts where your chi is holding its tension. It's no different. Dogs just carry the tension a little differently, and there's more at stake because they're animals. That's all it is. But any trainer doesn't talk about it or thinks it's all mystical shit. They're missing a big component beyond the positive, negative relying fully on tools. It's just, there you go. There's the
I could show you the graph. That right here is the proof, man. And what they did was they hooked up. And so this Primary Perception, definitely recommend this book. I recommend The Secret Life of Plants. I recommend The Secret Life of Your Cells. Entangled Minds is another one. The Conscious Universe, Biology of Belief, The Wisdom of Your Cells, Bruce Lipton. But all these things are going to tell you. Molecules of Emotion by Candace Pert is another one. Get out there. The information's out there, man. It's not. There's proof that shows you that we have unforeseen mechanisms of influence. Even Rupert Sheldrake, like what we were talking about.
And
but this one,
Buddhist principles talk about that. I mean, we're not inside the packaging. That's all it comes down to. We're made up of energy, and not like some weird like ghost and spirits. Like literally electronic energy that drives us. A mitochondrial level. I mean, it's a real thing, and it can be studied, like Bill's talking about. It's
Well, and then William wants me to elaborate. So what they did was they took a lie detector test and they hooked it up to this plant right here, and then they said, "Hey, I wonder what would happen if we plucked a leaf." And they plucked a leaf, and they went and saw the graph, and they were like, "Holy shit, we see a spike in the data." The plant, we're actually seeing some feedback, biocommunication with this plant, and so this is where it gets trippy, Brett. Is they were like, "Okay, let's do some more tests. I want it. Let's burn it." And so they went and they went over to the next room, grabbed a book of matches, brought it over, struck the match, and burnt the leaf. Now here is where it's interesting. They even got it right here on the cover. And so they didn't see one spike when they had that idea. They saw 3 spikes. They saw a spike when they had the idea to burn it. They saw a spike when they grabbed the matches, and then they saw a spike of anticipation, and then when they actually lit the plant.
As if it was conscious of it. And you know what I say with that? All you vegan people, because I used to be a vegan, you're killing something anyway. You skin it. No pun intended. Look, I post some of my bow hunting stuff, and there'll be more of that. And people have opinions. I'm like, look, I'm going to eat something, and I want to be accountable for it. And something's going to get cut or get that spike in the. You know what I mean? It's nature. It's not like you're trying to do it for your jollies. And look, it just again. The emotions drive you to not think like just because it doesn't have a face doesn't mean it doesn't have a consciousness. Yeah. Buddhism talks about that too. You could die and you get reincarnated, if you will, into an algae. I mean, okay, that's your karma to create that, but you're still a consciousness in an algae. I don't want to get too spiritual. That's another podcast. But the whole idea is, there's more going on than what we see on the surface. And I think, again, if you want to tie this all in from what we talked about at the beginning, is some people who think a certain way think it's all external and feeling and not what's really going on. That might not be so clearly tangible, but it is measurable and it's there. And
yes.
It's
well,
sad,
I think it's interesting. We see a lot of the same
that way.
same type of attacks happening with vegans versus meat eaters as they do with purely positives versus, and it's basically, it boils down to trying to think with your emotions. And the other thing that's cool about knowing about this effect is that the effect that gratitude has on the, and Rupert Sheldrake calls it the morphic genetic plane. And that's what we're all connected to subconsciously and energetically. And but dude, we're going to talk about that later. How do people get a hold of you, man? Let's wrap this up because you've got a busy day, and then Brett will be back on.
Awesome.
And
so good talking to you, Bill. Thanks everyone for watching and your questions and all that. For me, you can just go to my website, dogtrainingla.com. That's where you can link to anything. My YouTube channel. I think it's Dog Training LA also. And then my show, The Untrainables, it's on Facebook Watch. Every Saturday morning, a new episode comes out. So far, we've got 12 shots, so we'll have a new one for the next couple months. Share this. If you're in the dog training community, share this because a lot of you are going to put this out and give it some more momentum. It's doing great. I'm really happy with the feedback so far, but reality is there's a lot of competition here, and there's other training shows that might not be giving as pure a message, so it would be helpful too if we want to help dogs get more of this message out there, because I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to sell out, if you will. I'm going to just keep trying to get this more balanced understanding of dog behavior out to, as many people as I can while I'm breathing. So
absolutely. The dogs deserve it. The dogs deserve the truth, and they deserve a unified cooperation to help with the problem that we see with overreactivity, with dogs being euthanized, with children being bit, and just an overall misunderstanding.
The medications, all that shit. It's got to be addressed for what it is. And the people who are telling you that you're wrong for addressing it, we have to have a good articulated response to them, like I said, because that understanding them better than they understand what they're doing is the power. And also, like Bill's saying, circling the wagons. We're all a little different. We all make fun of each other a little bit, and it's not us versus them, but it's those who are seeing it for what's really happening and have a proven track record and support each other, because there's more than enough dogs that need us than there are us who do it. So, just more people speaking up with, no, there you are. Oh, I'm forgetting what I'm saying. Look how cute. Look at you.
Well, unified front, man. We need a unified
and again,
message.
We don't have to all agree, but there's this look. And it's not about we just love the dogs. It's about, no, we're getting the job done. We see what's going on, and we can speak about it in our own unique way. And someone might not hear, like, we're kind of saying the same thing, but you saying it'll tap into some people hearing it. Me saying it'll tap into, and eventually we're going to hit it, and then it all interconnects, and then we've got a better message where the purely positive stuff is the outcast and the rational stuff is what, and the purely positive is like, hey, you want to teach your dog agility or all this cute stuff? That's the realm that it's going to stay in, and it's not going to jump into the side of the fence where it's like, hey, you're playing in the major leagues here when you're trying to resolve problem behaviors and you're even thinking that way with your emotions. You are very responsible for that way of operating, and that's why, again, we're doing what we do and speaking the way we do.
That's right, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. So much having me on.
I look forward to having you on.
I love it. Anytime, man. It's really
cool.
Great.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you on the other side, so don't hang up yet. And then everybody else, hit that share button. Get this out far and wide. I got a bunch more episodes that are scheduled, and we're definitely going to have Brett back on. And thank you, as always, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.